Hi, this is Dr. Sage Breslin, and today we are talking about recovering from the helplessness associated with being in toxic or unhealthy relationships. You know, I think if there is any one emotion that people are really resistant to feeling, it's helplessness. None of us wants to feel helpless. And for those of us who are more sort of control centered, the Capricorns and the Leos, the folks, Taurus, who, want to take charge, who want to um, be empowered and be powerful. The leaders in all of us want to step into that role of controlling the narrative and the flow of activities and events and our lives. And when you meet a toxic partner, again, whether at home or at work, you're really surrendering most, if not all, of your control over life, over yourself, over your reality, because narcissists by nature are going to demand that you comply to their reality. That's just a given. And if you're going to be in a relationship like that for any length of time, your coping strategy is going to be to adhere to their reality. We've talked about that a lot. And so that's going to be real. And unfortunately, what that means is we do lose ourselves in those relationships, right? Once we lose our own truth, our own reality, and we adhere to somebody else's, everything else kind of takes the sideline, because then it's all about just helping them maintain that reality and allowing ourselves to sort of bend into that. So there is a huge amount of helplessness that is inherent with that. So one of the things that becomes problematic, if that's not already problematic enough, is that when we do have some insight into how unhealthy or toxic the relationship is, or if our friends have some insight and like to remind us of how unhealthy or toxic the relationship is, we minimize in large part. We will deny that the toxic partner is what they are. We may, make excuses for that person. We may over-explain or explain away their habits, their behaviors, their activities, even their personality styles. And we may find ourselves constantly, saying, no, but, no, but he's this, no, but she's that. No, yes, she may do that at some times, but no, the rest of the time it's like this. So, when we notice that that is our strategy, we also have to become aware of how difficult it will be for us to acknowledge how they've really been, how they've really treated us, what they've really been up to. And that is the stuff that is so shameful and embarrassing to us. How could I stay in a relationship with somebody who treated me so badly, with someone who gaslit me, every single day, with somebody who looked great on paper but turned into a monster in the relationship? How could I stay with a person who wouldn't even let me make choices about my own food or vehicle or living, furnishings? So there is not only a sense of helplessness because the narcissist assumes control, but there's also this level of shame and embarrassment about why we're even in the relationship. So, as we do become courageous enough to exit, it then becomes challenging for us to own what actually happened, right? So people are happy that we're out. They're happy to see us again because most narcissists will keep you away from loved ones and friends, family. So, then we finally have the capacity to get with our folks again, and they ask us questions and we deny and minimize and explain away. And unfortunately, when we do that, it's as if we're telling that version of ourselves, you don't matter. What you went through was not important. And so when we are really eager to heal from this and to ditch the narcissist magnet once and for all, it's imperative that we're actually be able to be honest with ourselves and acknowledge what has happened to us. And we have to be able to do that first before we can acknowledge what has happened for us. So we have to be able to say, these are the things that occurred. This is the way I was treated. These are the ways in which it changed my life, not for the better. And this is what I'm dealing with now. I love to say you don't need to be a victim, but you need to recognize ways in which you've been victimized. Use it as a verb. That's the part where it's not your fault, where something did happen to you, and that we have to honor and have compassion for what did happen. Now, the great thing is, once we're able to do that, we can really look into developing post-traumatic growth, where you can say, well, even though it happened that way, I became much more adept at self-advocacy. I became much more focused in my work, helping others. I became much stronger and more capable of identifying unhealthy and toxic people and places and circumstances. So if you are, resonating with any of this, if this sounds familiar to you, it really isn't your fault. And the way we get you really free from ever again having an unhealthy relationship is to really reunite you with yourself and with the version of yourself that can be empowered and strong. If you'd like any help with that, just give me a shout.